Hello, and welcome to the StepStories podcast. I'm Robin Breuner, your host, and I'm so happy to welcome my guest here today, Shay Stubblefield. Thank you so much for being here, Shay. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Robin.
I know you've got an interesting background and an interesting perspective on blended families, and I'm excited to have you share that. Um, but I wanted to start a little bit by talking about your world today. I know you've recently started a business. In fact, I was just looking again at your Instagram, and I love what you're doing on your Instagram with sort of combining what you're doing as a barber and a business owner, and also just your thoughts on life and how it all kind of combines. So I'd love maybe to start with having you talk a little bit about where you are in the world today.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, currently working as a self-employed barber, which I probably would have never thought I'd be doing at this stage. Sort of an unconventional journey through a bunch of different weird, odd jobs that sort of led me here. And I think it has to do with um, things that have to do with my past and my family, my parents and what they did for a living. Um, and I feel very connected to utilizing my hands, talking with people, having emotional conversations, and then doing art at the same time. So it gives me the freedom to customize my schedule, travel, constantly be expanding my horizon and my perspective. So I'm really in love with that right now.
That's really great. And how long have you been open for business?
I've been open for about 2 years next month,
Oh,
actually. So it
great.
flew by.
Oh,
Yeah,
great. And
2 years.
you're in San Rafael, California. We're both in Marin County. And I've actually known Shay for a while now and know the people he's been surrounded by. And well, we'll get to that a little bit later. So, um, before we go on to talk about your own family, I'm curious when you're talking about combining your art with your hands and your art in your heart,
Mhm.
it almost is like you're writing rap or poetry or something. Do you do that? Uh, Just
I
on the
do
side?
also do that. Yeah. Yeah, I have made a lot of music on the side. I was a big poet as a young kid. Even in my early 10, 11, 12-year-old days, I would write a lot of poetry, particularly for family members. My mom, my grandfather was really highly educated physician who had a passion for literature. So I think I got a bit of that knack for poetry and sort of word rhythmic sonnet formatting from him. And then yeah, it does feel very much related to utilizing my hands, or at least projecting my feelings into different artistic mediums.
That's
Mhm.
so interesting, and I hope you continue with that because you have a talent for sure. Um,
Thank you.
all right, well, let's go back to the beginning and tell me a little bit about your family, your mom and dad, where they meet. I know you've got kind of an
Yeah.
interesting background.
Yeah, I grew up in Novato, which is the northmost point from where we are in Marin here, and I grew up with a mom who was mainly in fitness my whole life. She was a fitness instructor at a local club, local gym. My father was a unionized painter.
Hmm.
He painted buildings and libraries and a lot of significant landmarks in San Francisco and around Marin County. And they met via their professions. So he was painting um, the workout club or the fitness club that my mother worked at.
Oh,
Saw her through the window, and I think the rest was history from
aw.
there. And my father has a history of being an athlete and athletics, so share that similarity. And then um, what I mentioned before about following in their footsteps, they're both sort of blue collar in their own right, in that they use their bodies, their hands, their minds and bodies are tired after a hard day of work. So I think I get that from them.
Hmm,
Yeah.
that is really interesting. Um, so did you live in Nevada when you were born? Is that where you're from
I did.
originally? Yeah.
Yeah, born and raised there. I grew up, first 2 years of my life, I was in a condo, um, like, just with me, my brother, my mom, and my father. My brother is my mother's previous child, from a former marriage. He's 10 years older than me,
Oh.
which was, uh, a significant gap that I tell people all the time is fantastic and infuriating, but, when I was young, it was the best because, you sort of have a more fully matured mind, and a greater distance away from me, so fighting, tit for tat little fights between more siblings that are closer in age, it didn't really happen for us. It was more an idolization or um, like an idol or like a muse or somebody I wanted to be like. Um, so we lived there together. We moved into the house I grew up in when I was 2 years old, from 2 to 18. I went to local middle schools, local high schools, Pleasant Valley, Sinaloa, and then San Marin. And was like really big on athletics, played a lot of sports, had a lot of friends, did well in school, or at least as good as I could. And then yeah, and then I got to university. I went to university in Arizona for 4 years. I studied science, kinesiology, movement of the body. I wanted to follow in my mom's footsteps with physical therapy, things of that matter. And then, like most people, your desires, preferences, interests change over time. And I graduated with a minor in psychology, a degree in like public health and sociology. Um, and then it took me, yeah, into my professional career, which I'll stop there, but has been very diverse and interesting in its own right.
Well, all right. Are you still close with your, half brother today?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
We're close, but we live far away. He lives in Spain. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, that is far.
Yeah. Mhm.
So your family, so I know that your mother is Jewish and your father is Black, and did
Yep.
that work fine with their extended families? Is everything cool?
Actually, yes. I mean, it worked that way in terms of that aligns with their extended families. Like my mom's Judaism runs on both sides all the way up until, migrations or um immigrations from Russia and Ukraine, Ashkenazi territories. And then my father's um, bloodline runs through mainly the South and West Africa. Um, so it's kind of my ancestry is a massive pie chart of all of these different things. But yeah, it wasn't something that I would say was a massive part of my identity, meaning I didn't go to synagogue. I wasn't like participating in Jewish activities. I wasn't going to church much. And I didn't have too much connection with any extended family on either side. I had a
Mm,
little bit, but nothing crazy.
okay. Well, so we recently had Dave Feingold on the podcast,
Hmm.
who's, just a wonderful guy, and I know that you lived with him for a while, with he and Liz, his
Hmm.
wife, and their kids, and, what happened with your family? What happened with your parents? What led you to that place?
Yeah. My parents went through a bit of a rough patch and a divorce when I was around 7. They got separated. Um, and growing up with a single mom from the primary ages, I guess, of adolescence, puberty, becoming a man with the main man being a little less present, more absent in my life was a significant change, deviation off the path of, but my mom is my hero to this day. She's an extremely resilient person. Did what I believe is a great job raising me and gave me perspective. And um, but yeah, I think I had a rough time with my identity in regards to both being biracial, both black and white. from a outside perspective, but also Jewish and I guess Christian. Um, and I really relied on friends and sports and people around me to help me maintain or get a sense of that identity. And one of the closest friends I made when I was younger was Dave's son, Mitch. And it was a friendship that was like very consistent throughout my life, but it we became closer in later years when we started making the music we mentioned earlier together, and that really bonded us. And then from there, I think my time around his family, around Dave, who slowly seeped in as somebody I could look up to as a consistent father figure that's been around. Mitch's parents are both still married, have a working relationship. It was something that I hadn't had too much time and exposure to, and so being around it and feeling their acceptance and love was amazing.
How did your mother feel about that? And how old were you when you went to live with them?
I was 20, I think I was 22, 23 when when I lived with them the first time. I lived
Okay.
with them multiple times. Um, my mom, great question. My mom, I don't think she felt a type of way of me living there. I think she wanted to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do to track myself to not rely upon them for housing or for a place to stay. I wasn't using them as a backdrop or a backup plan that she wanted to make sure I was just making movement as I was living with them.
Was she, at that point seeing somebody else or involved? Was I mean, was that part of what was going on where it was easier to go with them or
No, oh, yeah, so, my sophomore year of college, my mom moved to Arizona, actually. She moved and lives now in Sedona, Arizona. So she wasn't in the Bay Area, and all of my friends and extended family is in the Bay Area, so when I chose to live here and I didn't have any home base in my hometown, I was living with the Feigls. Yeah.
that makes sense. Where's your
Mhm.
dad? And where was your dad then?
My father during that time has been an in and out presence in my life. I think during that time, we didn't have much of a relationship. I've grown up with him having a pretty serious addiction,
Mm,
drug addiction. He was in and out of prison before I was born. Uh, and so his addiction combined with what addiction, uh, carries on, which is narcissistic behavior, sort of self-sabotaging behavior,
mm,
has been a factor that has like brought him in and out of my life, both on my choice and his. And I think during that time I didn't have much of him around.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's tough. Day and I'm glad that you found your way to Mr. Feingold because he is such an
yeah.
excellent example of a father and a husband, and, I'm glad that you were resourceful enough to figure that out and learn from him, so congratulations on
Yeah.
that because honestly, I feel like a lot of kids in your situation don't grow up and don't become successful in that way. They get into trouble and they go a different way. And
Mhm.
did you ever, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but did you ever start to go a different way or find yourself getting in trouble? Or did you pretty much stay grounded and stay in sports and, stay focused?
Yeah. I faded at times. I think I lost a bit of motivation and drive at times. But for the most part, I feel very lucky that I've interpreted a lot of maybe my traumas or my shortcomings as um, blueprints of what not to do.
Mm,
And I don't, I've kind of always chalked that up to some form of a higher power to a degree because I don't know why there's people who grow up in the same house, twins who grow up in the same house who develop, have addictions in their genes or some don't. And some interpret their, you know, uh, indulge in their addictive genes and behaviors. And I'm really happy. I've always had sort of a foundation of health and wellness, and maybe that comes from my mom's health background too. So I feel very lucky for interpreting it that way.
You sound to me like an old soul, if you believe in old souls.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
starting
so.
to.
You sound wise beyond your years. How did just curious, your older brother deal with your father's situation? Because obviously his mother
Mm.
married your dad, and then it sounds like your dad had issues. And um, do you know anything about how he felt about all that, or is he too much older than you?
No, so I was born when my brother was 10, and I think my parents were dating for a couple years, maybe 3 to 5 years before they had me, and so my brother's relationship with my dad started when he was I think when he was 6 or 7. So they already had a foundation of 4 years, and he became my brother's father for the most part. Funny enough, my father's brother also struggles with addiction,
Okay.
or excuse me, my brother's dad also struggles with
Oh,
addiction. Um, and so my mom sort of has this pattern that you can see playing out. Uh,
but she doesn't have
but
problems? She doesn't have
never
problems.
has. She's actually I've seen her drink one beer
Mm,
ever in my entire life.
wow.
She's been a completely no substance person the
Hmm,
majority of my life. Um, And so I think, I don't know, my dad is a bit more of an athletic, very charismatic, you know, high energy guy, and my brother was also into sports and football, and so when my dad came in, I think it was pretty seamless for them
okay.
to become close. And it wasn't until stuff started to get messy in terms of how he was treating my mom and sort of the nature of the relationship he had with me that my brother started to steer away, but for the most part they were really close when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The nature of the relationship he had with you, meaning not as smooth as the one he had with the older son? Your older brother?
No, I think my brother probably has a more grander perspective of the downward arc of my father being a consistent presence, reform convict, I guess, upstanding working individual
Hmm,
to starting to get back into substance
mm,
abuse, starting to abuse his family and his finances.
mm.
And so he has a more visible, like understanding vision of that arc, which I'm to this day, I haven't had a really in-depth conversation about how he perceives that entire thing, but I can tell it took a toll just based on that they don't have a working relationship much, obviously.
Oh, I get it. So, all right, let's talk about today's world and your
Sure.
girlfriend. You have a serious
Yeah.
girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about her.
She's amazing. Her name is Kiana. I mean, how do I even describe her? Singer-songwriter, artist, market specialist, loving mom of a 6-year-old boy. Um, yeah, highly intellectual, emotionally intelligent person.
She sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Where did you meet her?
She, for some reason, sat down in my barbershop one day. She came to my barbershop because she, works as a marketing manager for a waxing studio,
Uh-huh.
and she wanted to prospect, like, local grooming high-end barbershops as a way to maybe, court more male clients into a waxing studio, and so she was there to meet with the owner of my shop, and I was sort of, what she would call peacocking and floating around her because I needed to know what was going on, and then I, exchanged business cards, and the rest was history.
How
Yeah.
long ago was that?
5
Oh,
months.
5 months.
Been about 5 months. Yeah, very new. Yeah.
So, I understand you are getting ready to move in with her, is that correct?
Yeah, sort of, I think we slowed that process a little
Oh,
bit. We're a bit on a more pseudo schedule.
okay.
I, um, I stay here, 2 or 3 nights a week, and I think there's stuff that's going on with matters of her custody and um, how she is parenting her son and how I start to integrate myself into her son's life that I think we're being a bit more careful with um, because we want ourselves individually to have time to adapt to things and not put everything into one moment and accelerated version and have to digest and dissect it all. So I think we're gonna take it a little slower. But yeah, for the most part, I like to spend a lot of time here. I'm here right now,
Are you?
actually. Yeah.
So I'm part of the reason I wanted to have you on was because of your whole background, and now you've got this
Hmm.
relationship, and there's a 6-year-old boy in your life that you are sort of sounds like becoming a father figure to him, in your own way. I know obviously he's got his own, but you might be eventually moving into that position as a stepfather or a bonus father down the road, and maybe I'm jumping ahead and I don't wanna make you nervous,
It's okay.
but
No,
sounds
not at
like
all.
if you're getting to the place of moving in at some point, you
Mm.
gotta be thinking about this stuff and thinking about your own background and, your own parents, the Feingolds, all the things that have influenced your life, and so I'm curious
Mm.
what you're thinking about that, coming in and taking that on.
Yeah, honestly, I think my perspective on that has changed as the working adult now. I think that there is a resilience of kids and of particularly her son and a certain attribute that doesn't need to be applied to me as the person stepping in. And I think that might be misconstrued often is that you have to be the stepdad, you have to be, this new figure when in reality I think I'm more of a facilitator or a coach rather than a father. I think I'm supposed to be somebody who he has an outlet for or he I can provide an outlet to him especially because we share similar experiences, but mainly somebody who can nudge him or give him any or give him any insider knowledge that comes to maybe things that a single mom or a woman that has a little more trouble communicating to a boy,
Mhm.
like a growing boy. And I think I experienced that with my mom specifically, that I didn't have maybe somebody just to talk to about being a man,
Right.
whatever that might mean, or shaving, or hair growing in areas, and like my nose getting bigger, and girls, and like all of these things that I didn't know how to react to, and that I had the beautiful sympathy and compassion from a woman by, but um, I think that man presence is something to acknowledge and something to hold dear when it comes to your development. So I think my perspective has changed on that a lot, and I'm like happy to embrace maybe a new mindset with it.
That's amazing and so mature, and but, we never said actually how old you are in this podcast. How old are you?
Oh, I just turned 30 a couple months ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so congratulations on turning 30. You're
Eh,
entering the world of serious adulthood.
I guess so. Yeah, it's feeling that way.
Sounds
Yeah.
like, though, you are so grounded, and,
Thank you.
I guess I wanna say what do you attribute that to, but it sounds to me like it's a combination of your mother, your belief in a higher power,
Mm.
and life experience. I mean, did you have any experiences that made you think, "What am I doing? I'm going down this path and this is wrong, and I need to turn back down this path," or anything like that? Or were you just
Mm.
perfect all the way through?
No, never. Come on now. Uh, I think I don't know. I sit here today and I think to preface that, I have like immense gratitude and like a likeness. I don't have regrets. I have a likeness for everything that I've been through. But yeah, there was a lot of years of depression and years of uh, second guessing and questioning identities and feeling like really down on myself when it came to not feeling included, not feeling like I was participating, not feeling like I was contributing. And it had to do with maybe a lack of understanding, validating my choices, like a lot of things that went into making rash decisions and one way ticket travels and crazy ventures into weird distant places and tours and whatever. So I think all of those things play a role in how I've developed. Um and so yeah, there was some moments that I don't think I could look back and say there were moments where I almost fell off the deep end, but there were moments that pushed my boundaries and that I had to sit with myself for long periods of time and reflect. Yeah.
Well, that's also part of growing up, part of having an adventurous spirit,
Mm,
and I think you are an excellent example of letting yourself try some things and finding yourself back to yourself. You seem to be the old saying, comfortable in your own skin now. At least that's what you project, and I love that. I really love that.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
well, and speaking of which, do you have anything you might say to somebody listening out there who either, is struggling as a child or has a child that's struggling because of a split home, who's I know you're just venturing into this place of maybe coming in and being, an adult for a young boy. Um, just any thoughts you might wanna share that could help somebody. That's the point of this
Mm.
podcast, hopefully.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just never be afraid to try. I think that comes before failure or this concept of failure that I can say I've carried too much of a fear of, and then it restricts my um, restricts my desire to try new things. I think trying is a success, and
And
um,
failure too is part of the
And
process.
failure is a success too,
Yeah,
yeah, or even you don't even have to think of failure as failure, you could think of it as that you're winning or you're learning.
learning.
Um, I think though, more or less what I'm trying to say is I think don't be afraid to consistently be trying new things and following your inner compass of things that you might like, even if it goes against the grain of your social circle. That I see so much in kids that I cut their hair and from, I guess, memories of my own childhood that I leaned too much on what I thought people would think, and also didn't recognize that usually the person who becomes the coolest person in the room is the person that tried something. You're usually being applauded for trying something, even no matter how good or bad you are. People think it's cool that you went to a dance class or you took a cooking course or like went to culinary school, but you had like a multi-million dollar salary. Like people like those steps and those leaps. So
I think that's really wise advice. And well, we're not quite done with our
mhm.
time. So I guess I want to also ask you, just come to mind, is there anything that you're nervous about with this relationship with your and put this out into the public to the world? I don't know how you feel about
Sure.
that. But with a relationship with a woman that sounds like you have fallen for who does have this child, is there anything you feel nervous about?
Um, I feel nervous about how I'm going to support my support a family, I guess that without having maybe the foundation of knowledge and wisdom that I want to have. Um, and so communicating and talking out any sort of things that I might need in order to get to that place um, makes me nervous. But I have like a very working dialogue with Kiana, and I try consistently to tell her everything that's on my mind and that I'm feeling, and be as honest and communicative as possible. And I think that's the route to hopefully a successful relationship, is just never never being afraid to say what is going on and be honest and live with the results, because that goes a longer way than feeling like you need to keep secrets or cultivate some sort of space that doesn't involve that person.
I think that is so true, and I agree with you, and I'm somebody who's been married almost 36 years, and
Mm,
the thing about being honest and having trust, I think, are honestly two of the most important things. Being able to talk to the person from the very beginning is, it is the key to
mm,
having a strong relationships, because when all of the honeymoon stuff, the cliche wears off, you have to have an honest relationship, especially when you've got a child involved. And do you think you
mm.
want to have more children?
Yeah, I think eventually. I don't think age-wise I'm ready,
Yeah.
but I do want to. It's weird. I feel like age-wise, the generation, my parents' generation, even before them, my grandparents' generation, I'm at the higher end of when you would typically have children, and
Yeah.
now I'm feeling like, just based on maybe modern times, that I'm at the younger end of having children now.
You
So,
are.
r you know?
And it's interesting when you think about it. If you had another child, say, in 4 years, then the child that Kiana and you had would be 10 years difference
I know,
from
unbelievable.
her child.
I know,
So interesting the
I
way
know.
history repeats, but I think that no matter what you do, you're gonna be successful and do it well and be loved, and I wish you so much success. And, just is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I really appreciate those words, and I appreciate you having me on, and, regardless of what we covered today, I appreciate that you think my perspective is, brings value, and, I think that this is an amazing platform and thing you're doing, and I think it's an overlooked, thing. I think
Oh,
blended
good.
families, um, and the beauty. I've dated people before Kiana who were a part of very blended families, and seeing that all, and like, sort of breaking free of the traditional chains people have of families and how they're supposed to operate, I think is like really important right now. So
I think it
glad you're
is
doing this.
too, and being able to find other people, because I it's funny, there are so many people who have blended families in this world. 50%, what, the divorce rate's
Mm,
50%, but I find people don't really talk about it, especially
mm,
when they've grown up and they've had it in their past. I'm always amazed at the stories that come out when I tell people I'm doing this, or I talk about the fact that I had a couple of stepmothers and step families. And so, thank you for saying that, and I do hope that this will continue to resonate with someone out there listening and help them. And so, thank you again so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it, and wish you so much luck and
thank you.
success. You will have it.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks.